Hey bitches! What's good? So, in this video, I'll be going over part 2 of the BTS storyline, where I'll be discussing the plot of chapters 9 through 15. If you haven't watched part 1, pause, save this video, watch part 1 and come back. I'll also be sure to link it in the description of this video. Now let's get into this true BTS tea. Last month in April, back at the hospital, Yoongi says that he wishes that he'd died so that he could live peacefully in the afterlife. As a result, Jin starts to question his motives for wanting to save his 6 friends and asks himself if it is worth it or not, but then he reassures himself because he doesn't want anything bad to happen to them. Then, back to the present in May, Jin goes to the hospital to visit Yoongi, but he is told that Yoongi has been discharged. Meanwhile, at the medical institution, J-Hope tells Jimin that he got a call from RM saying that he and the others are going to visit him and Jimin. However, Jimin says that he doesn't want to see them and tells J-Hope to tell them he isn't there. When the others finally get to the medical facility, Jin asks J-Hope where Jimin is, but J-Hope keeps his promise and tells Jin that he isn't here. Then, the next day, Jin meets RM at the hospital again as he goes to check on J-Hope. Meanwhile, as J-Hope sits in a stairwell, he notices a woman with her child exiting the staircase. He goes after her because he thinks she is his mother, but he ends up tripping down the stairs. And then, as Jin is walking through the hospital, he encounters Jimin. A group of doctors rushes the injured J-Hope down the hallway. Then, Jin goes back into the past again and starts from scratch by helping RM and Jungkook first and then saving J-Hope as he collapses on the bridge. Suddenly, J-Hope wakes up in Jin's car, and Jin says that he's taking him to the hospital. It is then revealed that J-Hope suffers from narcolepsy, a chronic sleep disorder characterized by overwhelming daytime drowsiness and sudden attacks of sleep, which is why he collapsed on the bridge in the first place, so he's been taking medications in order to calm the symptoms. J-Hope asks Jin to drop him off at his job at a fast food restaurant as he notices sticky notes with Jin's objectives to save each of his friends. After work, J-Hope meets with RM and they talk about Jin and start to get suspicious of him. Then, J-Hope leaves his job on a motorcycle and texts Jin because he wants to talk more, but then he notices Jin's car and tries to follow him on the road, cutting off another car, almost getting himself hit. Meanwhile, Jin drives past Suga, who is on the sidewalk heading to his motel room, without noticing him. Once at the motel, Yoongi proceeds to burn down his room. Meanwhile, that night, J-Hope, who is at a convenience store, notices Jin's car and then watches as Jin rescues Yoongi from the burning motel. Jin and J-Hope proceed to take Yoongi to the hospital. Once Yoongi is in the operating room, J-Hope starts to grow suspicious of Jin and questions him about how he was able to tell that Yoongi would need to be rescued. Jin says he'll explain everything later and asks J-Hope to leave the hospital, but instead, J-Hope decides to wait in the lobby. J-Hope then notices Jimin in the hospital and begins to chase him up the staircase, but then realizes it's just someone who looks like Jimin. Then, as J-Hope is about to fall down the stairs, Jimin catches him. They then start to talk about their pasts and it is revealed that J-Hope was abandoned by his mother as a child. Meanwhile, at RM's home, V and RM both get a call from J-Hope to talk about Jin. That night, Jin is still at the hospital visiting Suga as he goes to find Jimin, but he is intercepted by Jimin, Jin, RM, and V. Jin asks what they're doing there, and V says that they are helping to break Jimin out of the hospital. Jin objects because he thinks it's too dangerous, however, they proceed to rescue Jimin anyway. Jin asks Jimin whether he wants to leave or not, and Jimin proceeds to have flashbacks of when he was younger. It is revealed that Jimin was put into the hospital by his mother until his seizures got better. Jimin returns to reality and decides that he wants to leave. But then, as they're about to escape, they are intercepted by Jimin's mother. Jimin and his mom begin to argue about Jimin wanting to leave the hospital, and Jimin says that his mom is only keeping him here because he's embarrassed by Jimin, but she says that the reason she put him in the hospital was that she couldn't take care of him with his conditions. Then, a few days later, Jin comes to the hospital to visit Jimin and sees a bunch of doctors near a locked door. Once they get the door opened, it is revealed that Jimin was trying to commit suicide by drowning himself in a bathtub. Jimin pleads to Jin to rescue him from the hospital, and Jin drives him the hell out of there. Then, as they're driving down the road, Jimin sees a sign that says, "Grass Flower Arboretum," and he freaks out and runs inside of the building. Suddenly, Jin restarts and he ends up back by the windowsill on April 11th, again contemplating his reasonings for saving his friends. Then, as he's about to start over again, V shows up at Jin's home, reassuring his reasonings. Then, 1 month later, Jin rescues Jimin from the hospital again and they end up at RM's apartment, meeting up with the others. The next day, V walks out of the apartment while everyone else is still sleeping and returns to his apartment. Once home, V's drunk abusive father throws an empty beer bottle complaining about him getting home late. V's sister says to say sorry to their dad and to go to his room, but V's father wants V to stay there to beat him. V's sister tries to stop him, but he hits her for getting in his way. V tries to help her, but she tells him to go. V has flashbacks of his childhood, in which his sister instructs him not to intercept when she's being beaten by their father. V returns back to reality, fed up, and charges at his father with a broken glass bottle, stabbing him several times dead. Then, as Jin and Jungkook are talking about their decision of rescuing Jimin, J-Hope says that V has murdered his father. Jin drives his car and finds a crowd of civilians and reporters questioning V as he is escorted by the police. Jin restarts with the intent of finishing this once and for all. This time, as V is heading back home, Jin intercepts him and asks him what is going on at home. But then Jin says he can explain later. Instead, they decide to talk about the dreams he's been having about RM going to jail and Suga and Jungkook committing suicide, and Jimin being trapped inside of a hospital. Jin drops him off at his apartment complex as V's father's voice echoes throughout the complex. Jin proceeds to follow V up the stairs to the apartment to help him. V takes an empty beer bottle and knocks his father unconscious, and as V is about to kill his father, Jin appears to stop him, with V stabbing Jin in the chest. In conclusion, Jin sacrifices himself for the sake of his friends, which is why in the Euphoria music video there are several shots of Jin missing. Thanks for watching. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And remember to stay snatched.